short story about what I think about government. And that comes from my childhood, and probably it's the reason I'm a Democrat today. And that is because I consider my family an immigrant family. I'm Irish. And so a couple of generations ago, my grandparents came here, and they went to Montana, because that's where the Irish went. They went to the mines to get jobs. And my grandmother ran a boarding house, and my grandfather worked in the mines, and he was a union guy. And then they moved to California, and that's where I grew up, near San Francisco. And they found opportunity in California. That's why everybody comes here. But my grandfather lost his job in 1935, like most people did, and like many people are doing right now. And I grew up listening to the fact that my family would have starved if it weren't for the WPA and the programs that were put together so that my family wouldn't starve and my grandfather could go back to work. And guess what? Eventually, the country came back. And they did very well after a while. But you know, there are times when, if the government doesn't step in, nobody else is going to. And I think that's something we have to remember right now. And it's happening in those decisions we're making at the Capitol every single day. That is what I think. And that's what I think about the debate that's going on in this country about the role of government. We cannot let families fail, not now. And we need to be acting very proactively to get some jobs back for people. Because without that, they're going to be just like my family was, and we've got to keep those programs in place so that that doesn't happen to people. And that's, I think, what drove me to be a Democrat from the time I was young. And in those days, my mother was probably what you'd call a ward boss now. I mean, she was in our neighborhood. The way you came into party politics is somebody like my mom knocked on your door when you moved to the neighborhood and said, hey, join the Democratic Party. And they came to our kitchen table and she'd sign them up. And that's exactly how we built the Democratic Party. It was a grassroots thing, and it was immigrant families just like mine. And that's what we have to do again. We have to reach out to the people that we need to bring in that don't necessarily have a history of being in a democratic system. So I think that's a very important aspect of the Secretary of State's office. We are going into a tough, tough election time, not just because people are discouraged and unemployed, but also because of the recent Supreme Court cases, which I believe are some of the worst cases that I've seen decided. I am a bit of a student of constitutional history. I am a lawyer, by the way, but I don't practice law. I just want everyone to know that. I do not practice law. Just in case it comes up. The Supreme Court case that decided that corporations were like people in the sense that they would have an unlimited ability and right to spend money on elections is really going to change elections in this country, I believe. And I think you're going to see money pouring into elections, and of course you're seeing it also with just very wealthy people running for office in a way that we have not seen in this state before. And the amounts of money people are talking about are just staggering. I mean, you have Linda McMahon talking about $30 to $50 million. So we're going to be barraged with a lot of negative ads, probably, based on not only on the Supreme Court case, but also the amount of money that people have now to spend on these things. And the other case that's just been decided is the one that comes out of Arizona, which was just decided last week, and that will disallow matching grants, which are provided by our public financing system in order to level the playing field between wealthy candidates and those who are trying to compete. Combined, those two cases will force us to re-examine our public financing system, which is already under appeal by the courts. This is going to be a time where you need someone who's very strong and has some experience in order to guide the state through this process. You also need someone, I think, who will make these issues a priority. What I've been aware of is the fact that our voting system is pretty antiquated. Mostly our technology is pretty antiquated. You still can't really register to vote online. You can go online and download a form and then send it in. You still cannot do what every one of us can do at any ATM machine. You know, press a button and get 200 bucks if you have it in your account. You know, it's really, and this is true throughout state government, by the way, and we just haven't made the investments that we need to make. Now, I also have to say, I'm keenly aware there is no money right now, and let me repeat that. There is no money right now. And so we're going to have to be very creative. People will come in and tell you they want to do this and that and the other thing for all these offices. The truth is, we're not going to be able to do much unless we find a source of funding. I've got some creative ideas about that. But essentially, we do need to upgrade the voter file. There are still towns in the state that aren't computerized with their elections. You've got lots of access problems, and essentially it's a consumer protection function. We register all these corporations, we provide all this information, but if it's not accessible, it doesn't matter. And that's the reason we register corporations to begin with, is so people can have access to the information. Sometimes I think government forgets why we're doing these things. We just get to be, more and more paperwork getting pushed around, and we forget why we're doing it to begin with. I would like to get back to the basics and just say voting should be as easy as possible in any way we can make it possible. And that includes early voting, perhaps same-day registration at some point. I'm not a fan of it at the moment because I don't think our voter file is where it needs to be. But anything we can do to make it easy. Government should show that we can make things work for people. And that's the bottom line for me. So I think I'll stop there. Thank you. You've listened too long to me. So I'd love to entertain questions. And thank you very much for hopefully supporting me for Secretary of the State. And I would love the job. It's the job I've always wanted. So thank you very much.